Kyler Staley from the Hoosier.com joining us as well as this weekend, the return of the AAU circuit as the Adidas May Classic was going on, as well as the Havoc in the Heartland up in the Indianapolis area, Noblesville, really, for the Adidas May Classic. How was it?
AAU was back, but it wasn't the most eventful of weekend. I was able to get out and see the Indiana Elite guys. Unfortunately, the two games that I watched were very bad blowouts. Like I'm talking like 100 to like 20.
Wow.
So it was
wow.
It was not. It wasn't. Let's just say it wasn't worth scouting all that much. There wasn't a whole lot. I could learn. Really not a whole lot that any other player can learn. It was just kind of poorly paired up, I would say, on that end. But like I did get to see those guys. Still got some eyes on them. Flory Badunga had the easiest day probably of his playing career so far. I mean, it was just I kid you not, there was probably like 6 possessions in a row that resulted in a dunk by him. And then Cooper Koch played pretty well. Riley Burgess played well. The one guy I was a little disappointed I didn't get to see was Travis Perry. He wasn't there on Saturday when I got there, so I wanted to talk to him, but fortunately couldn't. I guess coming out of that, the main thing that I got to see was the future backcourt of Penn State with Micah Shrewsbury and Logan Imes. So that was kind of fun to watch them play off each other. But other than that, not the biggest weekend when it comes to AAU.
Micah Shrewsbury and Imes both coming from Indiana, right?
Yes, yeah. I believe Micah transferred.
Kind of odd that Penn State's going to have a backcourt of Indiana players. You know that Michigan State will always have an Indiana player. Michigan usually has an Indiana player. Illinois will still have one. Ohio State probably. Purdue, Indiana. I mean, Purdue feeds the entire Big Ten, Charlie.
Yeah.
I mean, Indiana feeds the entire Big Ten.
Yeah, Indiana, I get that.
I mean, it's from a player's perspective, and that's wild to me. Is Indiana is the smallest state of those states.
Yeah. But no, yeah. So I got to watch them play. Well, thing is with Logan and Micah, they've been playing together since they were like in middle school. So like they've had that ties. Logan Imes has been close with the Shrewsbury family, so it kind of made sense in a way that he would go to Penn State and play with Micah.
Wow,
which is cool. I know that, and then a future backcourt that Indiana fans hopefully will see will include. I'm talking Trent Sisley and Jalen Harrelson, which I'm not sure. I don't think you got to see this weekend, but that's definitely a backcourt that Indiana fans are hoping to see 3 years from now.
Yeah, it's kind of a long way, but if they continue to build that relationship, Indiana does have a good shot to land both of them. And those guys have been playing together for probably since their middle school days as well, so they have a really close relationship together, so they could be looking to go to the same school together and continue to play off of one another.
Looking forward to that. So what now coming up? Is there a week off before the Memorial Run-In Slam up in Fort Wayne for the circuit?
Yes, so you got coming up, you've got this weekend off, and then then the following weekend you've got the Memorial Weekend Run and Slam, plus the Nike EYBL. I believe that's the session 3 in Louisville. And then June you get a little bit busier. You've got a few events. The main one in June, you've got the Top 100 Showcase at Ben Davis. So expect to see a lot of coaches out for that. Always a really good event. You get to see the top 100 players in the state of Indiana, battling it out and competing against one another. So that's always fun to watch.
The event in Louisville coming up, Tim says you'll get to see Gabe Cupps and Reed Shepard playing there in Louisville on the 27th. Playing against DJ Wagner's AAU team.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. Charlie, you don't get a chance to see a lot of these guys out and about doing what you're doing throughout the summer because everybody is coming to you specifically, right?
Right. That or you're coming to a camp where, you don't really you attract top players, but here and far few between. But most part, I'm training guys like that individually.
And I'm wondering why more coaches don't send their best players together to places, because it seems like everybody just goes off and does their own thing.
That's the parity for me. Kyle, you might speak a lot on it, but because it puzzles me here when I hear, of a high school team and they play on different AAU teams. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think it's just a change of, culture development, but it puzzles me to know you can have a whole team and 4 or 5 players can play on 4 or 5 different AAU teams where it's like you only communicate during the season.
Yeah, it is kind of odd. It's I at least see probably on the circuit teams, I probably see maybe at least 2 players on the same high school team. Yeah. Now there's an outlier here and there. Right. Like for example, if you're gonna focus in on Cathedral up here, Xavier Booker plays for George Hill, All Indy, and then you've got his teammates from Cathedral, Jake Davis and Darren Tibbs playing for Indiana Elite. So I think it just comes to fit. At the end of the day,
the kid from not Reed Shepherd, or is it Reed Shepherd, or is it that plays on one of the Indiana Elite teams? Is it Kentucky? The kid that Kentucky or Indiana has offered. That's from
Travis Perry.
Travis Perry. He's from Western Kentucky, down in Eddyville, and he's playing on one of the Indiana Elite Indiana teams.
Yeah. Indiana Elite. It's kind of funny. It's like, especially with their 2024 team, like I want to say 70% of that team's not even from the state of Indiana. So it's kind of funny and ironic when you look at that.
Well, that just tells me it's becoming more about winning and showcasing that program, which is fine, than it is about being about what you're about. Charlie, instead of being about Indiana Elite, now it's about, we got to put together an elite team and just call it Indiana Elite.
Well, Jim, that's always been the case. I mean, I shared with you, I played on the Orange County, California All-Stars. It was Doug Gottlieb. It was Tony Gonzalez, me, and several other people. And it was like, what are you doing on this team? Why? Right? I mean, and it's for exposure, for play, right? I think Kyle said the best is relationship. It's fit. And there's a balance to it that, it's fair, but it's funny because those kids are not from Indiana. It's called Indiana Elite, but it's again, that's AAU, all about you. All about you. You better go out there and show up.